In this episode, we're asking, is Taylor Swift a good role model for your daughter? She's not been married yet and she is childless and she should be doing more with her life other than being this celebrity person that she is. I'm Lisa Quait and I'm a 50-year-old mum, and I just don't understand what the obsession is with Taylor Swift.
Essentially, she's just a perfect example of someone, a woman who is damned if she does and damned if she doesn't.
So I know Taylor's on her tour at the moment, and I guess her songs are great. She looks great on stage. Her outfits are fantastic, but I'm not really interested in that side of Taylor. We like to delve a little bit deeper into people's lives. I'm going to be having a very adult and a very open and in-depth conversation with one of her fans.
You always think like, oh yeah, I'll be like, marrying first kid, house by the time I'm 30, and then this and that and that. So obviously when that doesn't happen, you do kind of wonder what's wrong with you a little bit.
This is Real Women's Stories. So I'm a little bit out of my comfort zone here, because before Taylor landed in the UK with her fantastic tour, I really hadn't heard that much, but literally it's blown up. The Office is just talking about her all the time. All I'm seeing is press coverage. The chitter chat that's going on is immense. I can't actually believe how successful the tour has been this year. Taylor Swift, her era tour, she's doing 15 dates in the UK. She's enhanced the national economy by over £1 billion. That's insane. Tickets sold out in just 14 minutes, and fans could not believe their luck when they actually got one. Just like this fan in Manchester. She's 33 and she's going to tease Taylor Swift.
Don't look at the price. Don't look at the price.
Throughout all of her success this year, the one thing that overshadowed all of this was a journalist wrote quite a harsh report about Taylor. He labelled her as being a bad role model, 34 years old, unmarried and childless. And today's guest, we have Cat Mitcham. Cat is 34 years old, like Taylor. She's unmarried and she's childless. She was one of the 1.2 million people that actually got to see Taylor Swift at Wembley. I'm just about to show you a video of Cat as she leaves to go to the Wembley concert.
Very, very excited. Been waiting a very long time. Been nervous it wasn't going to happen for various reasons. Very weirdly nervous.
So let's find out, is Taylor Swift a good role model for your daughter?
How did you become a Tay-Tay fan? I think she's just very much always been in my radar. She's obviously the same age as me, so I remember from way back in the day. Obviously, I think she was very, very young when she became famous. She was sort of 16. So since she was 16, I was 16, just sort of grew up with her music.
Okay.
And she's just always been there, really. I would definitely call myself a Swiftie. I don't think I come under the category of a, crazy, diehard, extreme fan.
I don't have that much knowledge on Taylor Swift, so I did do a little bit of research, and I watched Miss Americana. Is it Miss Americana?
Americana.
Miss Americana. Yeah. It was interesting to see her evolve throughout the stages, and that's obviously what this concert, it was called Eras,
yeah,
which was about the different stages of her life.
Mm-hmm.
There's been quite a lot of backlash in the press about the number of acquaintances that she's held, let's say. Yes. But then I worked it out. So it was from 2008 to 2024. She'd had 9 kind of celebrity relationships.
Notable.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you work that out, that's over a 16-year time kind of frame.
Yeah.
So what's actually wrong with that, really? Because
100%.
If you're a single woman, you're not committed to anybody. You finish a relationship. She was never unfaithful to anyone.
No.
She had a relationship. She was obviously, they either split up. If they didn't split up amicably, it was I guess, quite respectful. She's a strong feminist, and therefore that will impact how she behaves and how other people behave. So then I think, okay, there was a newspaper article out, and it was all over the news that people were publicly shaming her, saying that she was a bad role model, and that she obviously shouldn't be going out there at the age of 30. I mean, she's now 34, the same age as you.
Yeah.
And she's not been married yet, and she is childless, and she should be doing more with her life other than being this celebrity person that she is.
More with her life.
That's what they were saying.
So evidently, Taylor Swift is not a good role model. Have you seen the news article?
Because at the ancient age of 34, she remains unmarried and childless.
Y'all, we need way more Taylor Swifts in the world and fewer of this journalist.
Why does society say that at 34 years old you have to be married, you have to have a family? That's what the pressures are obviously imposing. Society is imposing on us. Because I did hear a few crass jokes about her and about a number of men she had. It brings me back to, she had 9 relationships in the space of 16 years. Why does that make her somebody who is, I can't think of the word without being rude.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
rude. Yeah.
That she basically goes from one guy to another.
Yeah.
Let's just say.
Yeah.
If you'd read that newspaper article, how would that have made you feel?
Well, it would have made me feel quite angry. But if it was talking about it being just a negative thing that she was unmarried and childless at 34, because I mean that just seems like a very sort of personal and mean thing to put in a paper for no reason. And I think that essentially she's just a perfect example of someone, a woman who is damned if she does and damned if she doesn't, because whatever happens, whatever she does, she's going to be criticized for it. If she's single and dating, she's going to be criticized. If she was married but going out on tour, she had children, she's going out on tour, she'd be criticized for that. Married, not having children, criticized.
I think it referred to her as being childless. What are your kind of views on the terms that are being used, childless rather than being child-free? How does that resonate with you?
I would always have referred to myself as childless until fairly recently, when there has been a lot of stuff, articles and things online about this terminology, and I'm like, 100%, that's totally right. Like, the term is child-free that people are preferring to use, and childless, when you look at it, is very much implying that you're lacking something, and that it's some sort of awful negative thing that's been taken away from you. Whereas obviously child-free has some different connotations to it. It's more of a kind of, I'd say it's more neutral, and yeah, I mean, it's not saying obviously I'm free of the horrendous burden of a child. But
You are. No, I'm joking.
I mean, yeah, it's just a much more neutral, nice term to use for someone who doesn't have a child.
As women, we have to work now.
Yeah.
We have to work, right? So back in the day, the way that the world looked at a man and a woman, the man went out to work and the woman stayed at home, and it was all very much,
And a household could survive on
X amount.
on a single income.
Yes, on I think more to the point, on a single income. So now women are kind of viewed that we should also have to go out to work, because, or even not we're viewed, we have to go out to work so that we can live in this world and have the things that we want, because men don't provide for us. Men have to provide, and we then have to provide. Then we're meant to have children, but yet we're kind of looked at as people that shouldn't be going out to work because we should be at home looking after our children. And we would then get slagged off, and people would say, oh God, how come she's working? She's just put her kids in nursery. And how would you feel if you were in the situation? So you met Mr. Right now, Taylor Cat. You've met this man, and you're now thinking, okay, there's an opportunity for me to be with this person, this lovely human that I've met, and I want to carry on with my career, but I'd also like to have babies and then take some time out for myself. But I can't.
Yeah. But then you'd also, I think there's another judgment that would come from, if you did decide to stay at home, then you're going to get judgment for potentially being a stay-at-home mum, because it will be, you've abandoned all your ambitions and you're just living for this now. So again, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Women and society and everything has evolved so far ahead of people's view of women and what they can do or what they should be doing. Ultimately as well, because of that, even if you end up, two people working in a household, you have children, and I think at the end of the day, a lot of women still end up doing the majority of all the housework, the childcare, even if they are working equally, because that's just, it's not even viewed as work or a job. It's just viewed as something that women just do.
Naturally, which for me is a big one. So obviously I think I came into the office the other day and I was like, oh, I've just had such a morning because I'm working full time. And I got up and the kitchen was untidy and the dishwasher needed emptying and the washing needed to be put on. So I did all of that before I went to work. Then I did a full day at work, and then I came home, and then I still had to cook and then clear up afterwards. But yet that's just what we do, right? That's just how we behave.
And that's like default setting. And I think, unfortunately, I mean, again, hopefully that's something that's changing. And I think that there's a lot of men becoming more aware of the whole thing about mental load now as well, like where it's not just the actual physical doing of things, but it's the being aware of what needs to be done, and knowing how to actually look after themselves.
Yeah, and I will say, after that comment, my husband is great, and he does. Adam, you do help, and no, he does. He wishes and he does bits that he can do, and always will message me, is there anything I need to do? So, yeah, I mean, I'm very, very fortunate in that sense. But yes, I do feel that, but there is still that stigma against or about women and
housekeeping
and the way that we should run our lives. And yet men, and I'm not a feminist, but yet men are not expected. But men are not expected to do what we do as women.
And you are a feminist because you believe in equal rights.
I do believe in equal rights, and yes, and that is pretty much how I run my household and our lives, because I'll always make sure that everything's split, no matter kids, husband, whoever. Explain to me what your friends are doing right now.
Most of them are getting married. Spend most of my weekends at hen dos or weddings at the moment, or baby showers. So that's a little bit confronting.
Do you feel that you have to catch up with them? Because I'm sure there's people listening here, and there's been women of all ages listening, and I'm sure at either a time in our lives where I've been that age, or potentially at a point where all of my friends are getting married, I'm not. The pressure's there. Like, I remember how I felt. I think it's good to talk about it, because I'm sure everyone is feeling that pressure. If you're that age, if you're single, if you're seeing your friends getting married all around you, and society is saying, right, we're at this age now, come on. And your aunt says, oh, so Kat,
when you getting married? Yes. And then I think for women, you've got this kind of almost like a deadline of 35, which is like ringing in my ears constantly, because that's when medically you're called a geriatric mother if you get pregnant after 35. So that is just like a big looming deadline. But yeah, and I think when I was obviously a lot younger, you always think like, oh yeah, I'll be like, marrying first kid, house by the time I'm 30, and then this and that and that. So obviously when that doesn't happen, it's scary, because if you could just see into the future and see like everything's going to be okay, then it would be fine. But it's more, everybody's passing these points in life. Someone somewhere along the line, society has decided that those are the points that you should reach at a certain age. And when you don't reach them, you feel like you've failed, even if you've achieved other things that other people haven't. And then, yeah, you do kind of wonder what's wrong with you a little bit.
But how have you kind of managed it? Because, I know that when I was in my late 20s, and I don't know if maybe it was a bit different because I'm a bit older, but I knew that by 30, you had to be married and had to have a kid. Now, I divorced my first husband and it didn't work out. And I can say, I married the wrong person. We were wrong for each other, because I think both of us were at that point where, oh God, we're like 28, 29, we need to get married, we need to have kids. Come on, the clock's ticking.
Yeah.
Everyone expects that. So, oh, are you the one he's brought home? And then I unfortunately, it didn't work out. And all the trauma that I had to go through in my early 30s. Now I sit back and I wouldn't change anything for a while, because I have beautiful children. I've got my daughter. But if I could look back on my life and say to myself, if someone was saying to me, you don't need to settle.
Yeah.
Because if you do, it's going to be the wrong thing. And at some point in your life, it doesn't matter when it is, you'll find your person.
Yeah. And then I think that's always what I would say to somebody else as well. So if anybody ever was talking about the same thing and they were younger, I would be saying I 100% would rather be on my own, doing my own thing, learning to be happy on my own, and wait to meet the right person, rather than jumping into something essentially out of panic and ending up going through a lot of trauma and potentially passing some trauma on to several other people, just out of panic. So
but there are a lot of people who still do that, right? So
100%, yeah.
You've obviously saying all of your friends now getting married. Luckily they're
not
friends.
they jumped into it out of panic.
No, obviously, but you're standing strong. You're being empowered like Taylor, and being powerful, and being, the strong woman that you are, and thinking, when the time is right, the time is right. I'm not going to let the pressures of society push me down, and I'm not just going to meet someone and get married to them because society tells me that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
Do you have any male friends that are the same age as you that are going through similar things? Because I bet you they're single and they're not being hounded, maybe by Aunt Nora or whoever.
Yeah.
Or when are you going to meet the right person? But I don't think that the pressures are with boys or men that women have.
No, because, essentially it's down to the old biological clock. If you're a man, you could turn around at 60 and go and meet a 20-year-old girl and then pop out a few kids then. Like, you can't
you wouldn't have much time left with them.
No, but you'd be carrying on your bloodline or whatever.
You've obviously got a job and a successful job, which is
for now.
Unless after this you get sacked. You're stable. You're stable in your job. You're stable in your career. There's opportunity for you out there. I'm just wondering if there's some women that are sitting there thinking, I'm 35 and society's putting all this on me. How do you think it affects their mental health?
You feel like you're the weird single auntie, like that's going to end up a spinster with a load of cats. But that's just because you've not hit those
milestones, right?
And
I shouldn't call them milestones because they're not. You're right. They're called markers.
just arbitrary targets that people have set, which are very, very old fashioned. It's not like it's a level that you complete and then you're done, you're on to the next level. It's all sorts of potentially horrible things after that as well anyway. And I know a lot of relationships or past relationships that I've observed and seen where I know I'm 100,000,000% happier where I am than I would be if I was in that relationship. So
you are very much a Swiftie. You're empowered. I guess you feel her empowerment through her songs.
And so, how can that not be a good role model, really? If it gives some people some comfort, gives people something to be happy about, smile about.
And I guess escape into her world of positivity and the fact that, there can be a future and it doesn't matter that you're 34 and you're not married yet and you don't have a family. There, be it a celebrity pop singer or be it somebody who's a career girl working towards bettering themselves, learning more. I think you can transition it into relative terms if you want to. After having a really in-depth conversation with Cat, not just about Taylor Swift, but actually how Cat and how the rest of society views 34-year-olds that are childless and unmarried. I mean, it's totally unfair for women to be judged. I mean, men aren't judged like that, are they? So I think really what's come out of this is that we as women need to be more empowered to feel comfortable within our own identity and our own journey on life, really, because society should not put pressure on us being a certain age to deliver on certain aspects of our life, especially getting married and especially having children. I think we need to be a lot kinder to people, kinder to ourselves, and just be more accepting. If you've got any thoughts and feelings about anything that you've heard on this podcast, you can get in touch with us. Our email address is therealstoriespodcast@gmail.com. If there are any topics in here that you'd like us to help you with, please email. Or if there's any other topics that you feel you'd like to listen to, or any guests, or if indeed you'd like to be a guest, get in touch with us. It's therealstoriespodcast@gmail.com. If you've enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button. We're on all platforms and we've got previous episodes that you can listen to too. So hit the subscribe button, share with all your mates, and you can catch me next time on Real Women's Stories.